going on? It is Sly
Hey, y'all.
King. Of course, this is the man himself. I'm just the guy sitting in, just talking to the man. That would be Judd Levenson.
Thank
And
you.
this is Judd Talks. As you can see, it's all about Judd. So, but it's a great opportunity that we get a chance to talk with all of you. If you had a chance to check out the first episode, listen, you're in for a treat as we continue this conversation. And more importantly, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel. Of course, you can follow us on social media as you are doing wherever the platform is that you're watching, but you also can get the entire full episode on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe. You can click the link below. If it's not in the link below, it's not on Instagram that way. It's in our bio. You can click the link in our bio so you can actually go there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So make sure that you do that. So we're back again, Judd, talking about the wonderful industry that we're in, which is an amazing industry that I think that has just, in my eyes, has changed so much over the years, and you've seen the evolution of things as it relates to technology and furniture and how things are designed. You know, we see so many different changes and shifts. However, one thing that is certain that you may have in any area of your home, and that's a chair. And
Yeah.
I really am intrigued by this because I have learned a lot about chairs in the sense that there are chairs that are designed for certain things that help in whatever it is that you're doing, whether you are sitting for long periods of time or they're decorative chairs or whatever kind of chairs they are. And so I want to talk with you about just not only the evolution of how office chairs have changed and just chairs in general, but what are some things that you have seen that have really kind of made chairs even better for those that do sit for a long time or those that,
Well, that's
you know.
obvious because now there are chairs designed specifically for specific
Mhm.
purposes, even the ball that you sit on in your office. So there's a lot of different ways to sit. But the seating industry, I think, has been driven by a continuing need to reduce price. And the chairs of old, the old North Carolina major manufacturers, they're heavy because they're so framed and they got metal springs, and they're also a lot of money, you know. And the need people don't want to pay $1,200, $1,500, $1,700
Right.
for a chair, even though it will be one of those 25-year chairs. Our budget won't let us do it. So that's driven the industry to figure out how to make comfortable chairs for less money.
Right.
And some do it well, and some don't. It's easy to find cheap foam, but it's more difficult to find good cheap foam.
I got you.
And in foam, you know, there's one manufacturer that doesn't even use regular foam. They liquid molded seats that never break, but that's more money. So yeah, I like chairs. A man once told me, he says, yeah, people buy a desk, but they buy 3 to 5 chairs. And you know, I was like, oh yeah. And I also had a good chair manufacturer I represented when I was very young. It was Carolina Seating, and they built really good chairs. And so finding a chair that sits good, it's important.
Right. And I think that's important because if you really think about it, your expertise in the years, and if you're watching and maybe not saw the first episode, with 45 plus years of experience, you have seen the evolution of those things, but you also have been able to identify that's good, that's not good.
That's correct.
And I think what's so great about that is when you go back to what we talked about before, which is there's a catalog and there's a million different chairs. What do you choose? It's great to be able to talk to people and find out, okay, what are you needing? Here's what you would need for this. Here's what you would need for that. It's different for what you may need for a conference room versus what you may need for, I would just say if it was a classroom or a call center or something of those lines, you would need a different type of chair for those different situations.
So we do computer labs, and in higher education, computer labs don't really need arms. These guys going to be sitting there doing this all day long, you know. Keeps the cost down, so you can put more money into better parts rather than parts you're not going to use.
So why have I seen, because I never understood that. I've been in computer labs before, not going to say where, but I've been in computer labs before, and they've had arms, and I'm like, I just didn't understand. Now I don't understand why that was the case.
I had a customer that had picked out a chair from Amazon, and it was a chair similar to like what we're sitting in, arms and a mesh kind of back, and looked like a task chair. It was $100.
Wow.
You know, and granted, they'd have to put it together,
Right.
but still, it was $100. So they go, well, it's got arms. We don't need arms. I don't care. It's $100. You know, those kind of things happen.
Right.
But they also don't think about it. Just think of a task chair. They don't think, can it be without arms? Maybe, who knows? You know?
I don't know. I've just always wondered that, because I'm like you said, it just kind of gets in the way of what you're trying to do. But that's what's great about it.
Well, and the other thing is, what surface you going to be? We're on a carpet surface. If you're on a hard surface, do you really want casters, or you just want to be able to pull a chair up? And to get people to think about those kind of things gets happier people in the end.
It does. And so with that being said too, what are some of the trends, and whether it's chairs or whether it's any other furniture that you've seen that were one of those, you know how things you see, they're catchy for a moment and then they fade away.
Oh yeah, keyboard trays.
Okay, that's because that used to be the thing. The desk that will pull out. I remember.
And it would pull out, pull
Pop
up, tilt. Yep. Gave you
what,
to be able to do this, do that. Nobody wants them anymore.
So answer. That's what I'm wondering. Was it nobody wanted them anymore? Is why that changed?
It hit their knees on it.
Okay, so I will tell you true story. I was working at a place that had one many years ago, and they had redone the office area, did all of that, and they had those kind of desk set up, and they had that, and they would pop out and they would sit this way. You could tilt them down or pop, but under the bottom there, whatever swivel piece that is, I'm tall. I hit my knee on the top of that thing, and I'm telling you, that is not a good feeling.
That's correct.
Not a good. But
and why do they call it a funny bone?
It was nothing funny about it.
No, nothing.
It wasn't funny about it because it hurt, but it also was one of those things I even noticed may have changed too when they were talking about the ergonomical way to sit. Like you remember seeing, you may or may not have seen it, or maybe you have. They would show you in an office how you're supposed to sit, just like this, right?
Nobody does.
Nobody does, but it was even more challenging to get people to do that if they had those type of desks that had the thing that pulled out and dropped down, because you weren't sitting that way.
That's correct.
And many people would sit all the way back.
So that has gone. Nobody buys them anymore. What they've gone is those manufacturers had to adapt.
Okay.
So they now sell monitor arms.
Oh.
That was all an accessory around there. And now I just did a project for some IT guys, and they want. I'll come back to this. They want height adjustable, but they're talking about having 2 or 3 screens on their workstation and being able to get them up off the work surface and not have the wires dangling.
Right.
It really appealed to them.
Yeah, and I've seen that too, and I'm kind of a fan of the float. I guess I've heard it where I worked at one place too, the floating screen.
Yes.
And they have them. But I also want to ask you, because I've also noticed, and we talk about trends, and maybe this is a trend or whatever, but I've noticed that even whether you're buying it personally at home, one of the things I'm seeing that people are purchasing, and I'm also seeing it out in a lot of office spaces, are the raising or lifting.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Okay,
I think the I don't care hot. It's not hot. The trend to height adjustable work surfaces is real.
Okay.
And every manufacturer of any type of desk today will give you a height adjustable. And I think the younger generations coming in are wanting it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never worked at a height adjustable desk ever. And therefore, I'm not really interested in it. But the younger guys are interested. And I think that's a trend that is going to last.
And it's interesting you say that you never worked in it, because I never technically worked in one myself personally.
Right.
But in this particular place, the only people that had the height adjustable desk. Now these desks would it had like kind of like I want to say like a window, but kind of had like a wall or whatever you want to say, not partition, but it kind of had that plexiglass, went around a desk, but the desk could be risen, right? And so they could actually push the button, raise the whole desk, and they could stand up and work.
That's
But they
correct.
were the only ones that had that ability to do so. And so I've noticed, and maybe
Were they the executives you're saying?
Supervisors, if you will,
Right, the upper,
upright,
not the worker bees.
No, they had that desk that could raise all the way up. And as you talk about seeing how that is something that kind of is, I guess you say there to stay, it's one of those things I think that's there because maybe you can speak on this, encouraging people to not be sitting for so long and be able
the
to stand.
sedentary lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's the movement behind it.
Okay.
The movement is a health movement, a back movement, a legs movement. But people, again, people that do it absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And once you adjust to standing, and the key now is, again, you can buy the $100 adjustable table, and they used to make them with cranks. Now it's all press of a button.
I've seen they have
and
up
on
and
your
down.
phone, so you can have presets.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow.
And now I'm working with people that want to have a chair that they can just sort of rest on when they're standing, and be able to sit on when they're sitting, and have the right casters, so when you do go to sit on just the front edge, it doesn't scoot out from under you.
Okay, I got you.
So that's the benefit of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with the young salespeople, and because none of them come from the furniture industry. One does, Carlos. And trying to get them to think in this small detail. And that's enjoyable, by the way.
I'm sure it is, because you've had the experience.
Yes.
And you've seen it. And that's why I wanted to know about trends that you saw that were that thing that just kind of faded away. And it's so funny because I think all of us in some shape, form, or fashion remember those keyboard kind of desk, if you will. And it was like, I mean, you can imagine a building that may have had 500 of those.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was
a big order.
That was a huge order.
That was a big order.
But it was a thing that just seemed to be that.
Well, you got
to
put it there, right?
Yeah. Of course, we went from having desks that had to have large monitors to those that now are the floating ones. And so I'm seeing, and I guess you are too, smaller and then adjustable.
And we also went from 84-inch high panels down to 42 to 50. The workstations of the past started at 72 and went up to 84. And everybody had an 8x12, 8x8. So now this has come down, and the scale has come down, 6x6, 8x8. And because, again, no need for the storage anymore.
Right.
And the acoustical privacy of the 84 can be made up with good panels at 53 and white noise and background noise. So there's other ways to do it. It's also, again, driven by cost. Builds a lot more to make an 84 than it does a 48.
Oh, absolutely. I felt like it's like when you see those, I remember seeing those.
Every bank had those.
Every bank had them. It was like the privacy.
Right.
I don't know, maybe me. I just kind of felt like it was a little bit more private if you were at a bank, especially, you had a little, but now a lot of that has gone away. A lot of new banks have gone to just offices where they go in. And
that's correct. That's what I'm seeing at the branches.
And they've changed that from having those tall, things you could go in and sit down and not really see, the other person can literally look over. Now it's going into,
And there were floors of them. You think about the power company, that building full of workstations, all 70, 80, 84 inches tall.
So I got one question, because this, you probably have seen it, and I think it was a trend that left, and I don't know what they're called. The acrylic, I guess I would say mats.
Chair mats.
Yes.
Chair mats, carpet protectors. Back in the day, well, carpet casters killed those.
Okay.
But back in the day, there was only one type of caster, I guess, and it wore out the carpet from doing this all day long. And it still will, but the carpet today doesn't wear out like it did in the olden days. So they used to put chair mats and gripper chair mats that had the little gripper,
teeth, like the little
so
spikes,
they wouldn't roll. They wouldn't roll. Yes, and you had them in. You had them in all different sizes, and then they were stocked by all the distributors, so you could go get one real quick and put it in. I've never sold a chair mat actually in my entire life.
Really?
Never.
Wow.
Because I've had nobody ever ask for one.
I just used to see them a lot.
You're right.
And it was one of those things that now you just don't see anymore.
And then there was a guy on TV or somewhere that was advertising for solid glass chair mats that were unbreakable. So yeah,
I don't think I would want that.
Well, no.
But
with carpet casters, I don't know, and carpet doesn't wear out, I guess, but carpet casters work.
Yeah, that's just one of those additional things I've seen that over the years, especially in the office arena, has evolved to being not the thing that you need, and it just kind of vanished. Because now it's just, if you see one now, it's definitely an ancient situation. And 9 times out of 10, I'm certain if it's still in an office, they've got old office furniture. That's more than likely. So as we look at the industry and the things that have changed and the trends and things, the relationships, and I think you can speak to this because of your years of experience, how valuable relationships that you have been able to establish over the years has been critical to not only your success, but just long-term relationships that you've been able to establish with your experience, and how important that is, whether it's with the dealers, the manufacturers, or even clients. Do you have any memorable experience that you have had or story with, whether it was a manufacturer, a client, or just in relationships you've had over the years?
No.
There you go. There you go.
You be in this industry long enough, you're going to know a lot of people.
Right.
And I know people, and I was able to bring some of that in the early days with D12, introducing them to other manufacturers that they hadn't used. Chris likes to tell the story that when I was a factory rep, I was the first rep that ever sold him furniture, that ever approached him to sell him furniture. And those of you that know me will know that I would probably sell anyone. Well, not that bad. Cut that, would you? But where was I going with this?
No, you were saying that you sold furniture to Chris. You were one of the first ones to be able to really sell him actual furniture. So I think with that being said, in general, if you were able to sell Chris some furniture, that was pretty impressive.
Well, I took Chris into an account. He didn't really know, and helped him buy, I believe it was a conference room full of chairs.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of our relationship. We worked on a project at Morehouse, and now knowing Chris, I understand why, but all of a sudden we work, do all this work and do all these drawings, do all these quotes, and then what's they call birds, no tweet, whatever.
Yeah, the bird. Right.
It just went quiet.
Just
and then 5 years later, I hear about it.
Right. And that's one of those things that I think that as you look at your experience and relationships, and I think it's one of the things that's important, that you see how no matter whether they were short term or long term, knowing and having the knowledge to discuss and share furniture with people, because a lot of times people, they know it's like anything. People know they need something, but they don't know what they need. And so when you're in a position to share and say, okay, let me walk you through what it is that you need. Because some people, truthfully would think, I still need the floor mat, I still need this, I still need that. And it's like, I don't know the last time you've been into an office, but you can get these other things that are better for you across the board, and the price would fit exactly what you need. So,
early on this job, I sold a project to make a conference area with tables that had laminate writing board, marker board laminate on it. And it so changed this person, I'll not go into any details, but that when they redid their entire space, they marker boarded everything. They painted the wall with the marker board paint.
Mm-hmm.
Every table had marker board laminate. Just because I introduced him to that as a planning tool so they could sit there and do their planning and write it on the table. That was kind of fun.
Let me ask you that question about those, because I saw that. I saw a mark, and I guess maybe I just haven't seen one in person, but I saw it on a new TV series, and it was in kind of like this doctor's, I guess you'd say maybe conference room or what have you. But it was it was a marker. I didn't know what they were writing
on the table,
but I didn't know at first.
Okay.
And then the camera shot zoomed in, and it was the table, and I was like, they have a marker table, like similar to like the whiteboard. And I was like, wow. I said, I think that's brilliant, just in the sense that if you are doing that kind of stuff, you have the ability to write on the table that way. And I was just blown away. I had not seen it. It was really neat. It had some very unique furniture in that actual series too, because that was, and I think that table, it might have been whatever color, but then that actually kind of was like a clear marker board, if you will, inside of that part of the table. And I was like, man, that's pretty neat. So making me think about it when you said that, because I just think about how those things have evolved. And I think too, that's something as well that you're seeing when it comes down to those kinds of things, in where technology, I believe, is taking and shifting some of those things to having some of those digital imprints into how people are working, whether it's the writing boards or even the digital
the boards
screens
where you write it and it prints it out.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an old technology by now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested to see how that's going to continue to evolve as it relates to even having some of the digital visuals that you can take from the computers into those things and show them on desk and things of that nature. It's just different, because we went through a time where you had the projector screen set up and that kind of thing, but now it's just totally different. And so you're seeing that evolution, and that's what made me think about that with those.
I remember when the iPad was new and I was a rep, and I could go and lift up my iPad and do a presentation right there, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even own an iPad anymore. You don't need one, but
no. But it's great. It's great to see, just again, how those things, I think, made those things just change over time. And I think that's what I've noticed. And that's what made me think about that when it relates to the marker board desk and those kinds of things. And I think as we continue to see that, I think you may see even more of those potential changes as it relates to what are some of the needs that people may think of. And people are creative. People come up with all kinds of things. I know this is a random question as we get ready to wrap up, but what is one thing that you would, if you could create something, what would be one thing that you might want to create that you have not seen at this point?
I'd like to make automobile fuel out of grass clippings.
Oh, well, I got tons of that.
So do I. I cut my grass for a long time.
I got tons of that.
I'm well aware of the grass, and I picked them up and bagged them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that.
So if I could take those, dump them, and I don't have the knowledge, dump them into a machine like a compost.
Yeah.
And it turns out something that I can put in my car and go, that would be.
Well, if you ever come up with that, you have to keep that quiet, because they'll come.
I also wish I would have bought Casio stock when that first little watch came out.
I think all of us wish we had bought. There's probably one or two things for certain that you could go back in your mind and say,
absolutely.
I wish I had bought.
I got more than that.
Yeah, but at the top of my head, there's a couple that you go back and say, I wish I had bought this then, because had I done that, it would have been a game changer, just in the sense of how those things have revolutionized, you know. And I think that that's one of those things, we look back at things, you go 15, 20 years, you go, wow, man, I can't believe I didn't think that that was the thing or an idea. That's why I think there's always ideas that are out there that I think can maybe not initially be something to make a major splash or different, but there's one thing that you never know, as you think through them, it could be an absolute game changer.
Bitcoin.
That's another one. I would have never thought about that.
No,
Not even close.
no.
Not even close. So that's exciting to hear. Just those areas of conversation and many more we'll get into, and just talk more about this incredible, exciting industry of furniture. And believe it or not, I'm learning quite a few things, and even getting some questions I've always wanted to get answered, because you're talking to Mr. Judd Levenson here for Judd Talks, our second episode. As I said before at the very beginning, you got to make sure that you're subscribing to our YouTube channel. Do that. You'll get a chance to connect and find more about our Judd Talks and other things as well. You can click the link in our bio to go directly to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. You can always hit us up. If you have questions or you want us to bring this experience of furniture knowledge in Division 12 to your company, your institution, what have you,
Okay.
get it and reach out to us. You can actually email us info@2division12.com. That's info
At the number
At-
2, the word division, the number 12.
.com, and you'll see that. That'll be at the very bottom of the screen here. You'll see that. You can click into our bio and get to our website and other things of that nature. So make sure that you're following us as well as we wrap up this episode, and we'll be back for another episode of Judd Talks. Take care.